You know what time it is. It's time to play with toys. Ah! I am pleased to announce that not only am I still alive, but I am still playing with toys, which maybe we should call them scale models, but today they're simply toys. I'm going to continue work on the Bastard Jr. build, which as you can see, I've made a little bit of progress off camera because honestly, it's like pulling teeth sometimes for me to get progress done on camera. But I'm going to go over what I have accomplished so far and where I'd like to be in the future. Alright, so the last time, I believe I may have shown you that I cut out part of the chassis, took it to the bandsaw at work, and I made a little opening here so that we could fit. Let's see, do I have the transmission? A two-low transmission from Team Garage Hack. And it just, it was so close to fitting, but it just barely didn't fit. So I was gonna have to do a little bit more clearancing or clearance out this guy. And then Team Garage Hack decided to come through town and they brought themselves one of these, I believe T210 transmission, which you can see tucked into the frame, just barely fit. And I didn't have to open that up. You know, c'est la vie, it's already been done. It's not gonna really affect the chassis. And I have a spare one up there too, so no big deal. But as you can see, this is a forward motor transmission here. It actually does get transfer case points if you're into Sorca competing. And what we have mounted, which just barely clears, is the Team Spec SS Revolver. Let's see, how did I say it? Revolver 540 SS Team Spec, that's right. And it's somewhere around, I think, 2200 kV or something like that. It's gonna be really slow with the portal axles plus this. I'm gonna run it on 3-cell, maybe 4-cell. We will see. We, of course, have to get it together and try it out, but it just barely fit. It's so close. It's so close in there. But as long as it's not hitting, it might as well be a mile of clearance. I got everything together. As I had told you in previous videos, I had to use a sister plate on the side, so I just essentially cut up another Sherpa chassis, and we got this front link mount. As you can see, there are other front link mounts available, but because of the lower link and front link or upper link differences, I just didn't think the roll center would be very nice if I used these stock link positions. I'm still going to try them in the future just to kind of see how things do, but it actually worked out pretty well, although my front axle is still rolled a little bit forward. So I'm going to need to either bend these links a little bit more to essentially shorten the effective length, or I'll just need to put on some shorter links. Not too big of a deal. I do have a little stack of links over here still, and we will be able to address that. Of course, I could also put out some longer lower links, and I do have 1 millimeter longer. And this ended up at a 12-inch wheelbase. I wanted it to be a little bit longer, but I also wasn't quite sure whether I would end up using 1.9s or 2.2s. So essentially, I'm just gonna build it up one way or another, and if I don't like it, I'll build it up another way. Not a very big deal. But right now, she is essentially ready for me to throw in some electronics and, you know, button up. I should probably button up that front axle situation there, get that right, but it's getting pretty close. It is getting pretty close. And this thing has lots of gear down. Like the drag brake isn't really even gonna matter on this. Oh, is it rubbing? Oh, it's so close. It may actually be rubbing a little bit. You know what the best way to solve that is just to run it in. But this is my only Team Spec motor that I saved for myself. We had that in that big old batch of them, and unfortunately we oversold them to a degree to where I had to get rid of all of my personal stash except for one, which is kind of sad. But you know, c'est la vie. They're limited edition, so that's sometimes what happens. All right, so what I need to do is let's go ahead and address these links. I want to see if I have any links that would maybe be the right size. So let's just look through. I've got some 112s, some 121s, some 100s, some 111s, some 110s, some 104s, some 105s, and some 102s. So let's start with the 104s just to see if that would be a proper upper link length on the front. Well, that's going to end up being longer than what we currently have installed, so that is not going to work. So maybe we could go for a 100. But as you can probably see, especially on that upper overhead camera, I had to do some funky bends on these upper links so that they would clear the chassis. Originally, this was designed with parallel uppers and then pinched lowers. It's kind of old school chassis geometry, and I'm not doing that, so our clearances are kind of wonky on this. But, you know, no big deal. Just bend some links and make it happen one way or another. And that's always the fun part of building, is that you get to make it happen one way or another. All right, so these 100s with a single bend actually might be right, but I've also got the 102s, got the 104s. So we got some choices. We do certainly have some choices. Now, the other way again would be to go with longer, lower lengths so that we can clock this axle correctly. And maybe it's kind of hard to see off camera, but the axle is tilted like this. The servo should be level, and right now it is definitely not. So one way or another, and that's always what happens on custom builds, is you're like a millimeter off on a link here or there. And that's why I bought this whole variety from Hardcore RC. All right, so what I am doing is just seeing if we'll get a little bit more. Okay, these 112s are looking exactly the same as the 111s that I used. At least they're close enough. I may, it would give us a little bit. It would give us a little bit, but I don't think it would give us enough. So I am indeed gonna need to shorten my uppers on this one. Because, yeah, but, you know, I got 100s, I got 102s between the bins. We'll figure it out. I'm going to have to do that off camera because it's kind of a tedious process, and I don't think y'all want to see me fudge around with links for 30 whole minutes. So, step one, new links. Step two is going to be doing an aluminum front axle. So at least for today, I will collect up parts, which I have already purchased, and we will make sure. All right, we need ourselves a servo mount. Need ourselves a pretty axle housing from Super Shafty. Some ball bearings, probably some cross pins. Definitely need some stub shafts, some universals. Oh yeah, and some brass outers from Super Shafty. Yes, sir. A link set. Yep, we'll definitely need a Capra link set. Portal gears, I'm not sure which those are. We got ourselves a spool. We will also need the gear set. These are going to be the overdrive, and these are going to be probably the standard ratio. Doesn't say it on the package, no big deal. But yeah, there we go, there we go. So I guess I'm going to have to decide if I want to overdrive the front axle or not. Let's flip a coin. Tell me in the comments what you would do on here. We do have overdrive in the transmission on this, so I could probably get away without it. Yeah, y'all help me decide on that. I will just put those down and we'll figure it out in the future. It's super easy to change out the ratio and the portal axles anyway, so. All right. Well, that at least gets me going. I've got all of the parts laid out here. Aha! Ha 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 ha! There we go. That is what we need. It was probably in the bag with the axle, which, hey, yeah, there we go, because this axle has it in the bag. Thank you, Super Shafty, for supplying those. It's almost like they know how to build rigs. All right, so I have my work cut out for me. We'll do a little bit of assembly, and then by the time we come back, it's gonna be ready for installation of electronics. So I can't wait for that. That's the fun part, when we get to drive it. In the meantime, if you do have any questions about the build or any suggestions on what you would do, like for instance, throw on these classic white dot hot body Rovers. Yes. If you've been into classic competition, then you are familiar with these tires. And hey, the orange rings, which are from the original XR10 kit, it even matches that orange. So, you know, just for a, you know, a big wheel sort of day, I think these could be the ticket. but we'll see. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd like to hear your ideas on this build and what you would do for it. So as always, I do thank you for tuning in, and have a good day.